So I mean, I'm thinking about baseball movies a lot recently. Like there's classics that everyone's seen that are kind of in the pantheon, right? Whether it's um, Bull Durham, The Natural, things like that. But I've been thinking about the kids movies because, like, I'm a big Moneyball guy, but my kids aren't going to want to watch Moneyball. What are our thoughts on Angels in the Outfield? Because I like one, I thought it was fitting given who Sonny plays for, the organization he's a part of. It's not the most accurate from a gameplay perspective, right?
Yeah.
But for kids, I think it does a good job.
It's okay. I mean, I think I probably prefer Rookie of the Year or The Sandlot for kids and baseball movies. But that's just me. Like way to go, run amucker. I think about that, once a month or so, probably from Rookie
That'll
of the
be
Year.
fun in a call to use,
Yeah.
Brad. You should do that.
Sure. Gary Busey playing the the near retirement age Cubs pitcher. The only thing that bothered me about the movie was it's the Cubs, and they have John Candy as the radio announcer. What are we doing? Like that was peak Harry Carey time.
It was like he would have done it too.
Sure, he would have. If you'd have paid him enough, you probably could have found enough Anheuser-Busch product somewhere to pay him enough for that appearance. So I had a problem with John Candy, even though I love John Candy.
Yeah.
But as the Cubs announcer, it just didn't sit right with me. Forget the whole kid breaks his arm, can throw 150 miles an hour. That I was fine with. The thing that
that's
sat wrong
plausible.
the thing that sat wrong with me was it's not Harry Carey as the announcer.
That makes sense. I did forget until I was doing the little bit of research for this, the brief amount of research I actually did. Air Bud had a baseball version. There was a spinoff, Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch,
Was
not Stretch.
Was that a DTV? Was that direct to video?
Direct to DVD, 1997. It absolutely. Or no, I'm sorry, not 1997. 2002, direct to DVD.
All right.
Anyway, this is the Barn Baseball Show. Lindsay Crosby, Sonny the Sheriff, Brad Law. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the weekend that was, right? We saw Auburn take 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State at home, continue this hot stretch that they're on. But I also want to kind of look a little more bigger picture because we're on the tail end of conference play. SEC tournament's coming up in a couple weeks. They're in Hoover. And then you're going to have postseason, right? And we all believe the Tigers are going to host a regional in Plainsman Park. And I feel like this team can go pretty far. So we're going to have that conversation. But from the weekend that was, you won 2 out of 3 against Mississippi State. What was the one big thing that stood out to each one of you about how Auburn played this last weekend?
The thing that stood out for sure was the bats came back. I mean, they didn't score less than 6 the whole weekend. And, they had a tough 4-game skid with the bats not really showing up against Texas and Georgia Tech. So I think just seeing the bats are still there and they're still going, that was a big positive.
Yeah. And specifically Cooper McMurray with 6 hits. You got to have Coop down the stretch here in the regular season. You got to have him in the postseason. And we said last week, we're not going to allow one series against Texas change the identity or how we refer to this team, change our perception on this team, because it was one series against far and away the best pitching staff in the league. Texas is a 5-game lead on everybody else in the league with 9 games to go. It's ridiculous. So you get back home, you stay on your approach. And Cooper has 6 hits. Fabian had a hit in each of the first 2 games and drove in a run, I think, in the 3rd game. And I mean, these are just guys you got to have being productive in the lineup. And it was really good to see that over the weekend.
On the note of Texas real quick, before we move on, like we talked about, don't let that weekend color your perception because Texas is a good team. The conference mark, like all time, 2013 Vanderbilt went 26-3. And at this point in the schedule, they were 19-2. Texas is currently 19-2. Is it possible they go 8-1 down the stretch to tie that record at Arkansas, at Oklahoma versus Florida? I'm sorry, 8-1 would beat it at Arkansas versus Florida at Oklahoma. Is there 2 losses in there somewhere?
You want to say so, but you never know. I mean, they're just steamrolling people, so I don't know. I mean, the Oklahoma series is going to be big. I think they lose one there. So if anything, well, and I mean, if they just lose 3, then they beat the record because Vandy only played 29 that year. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think there are 2 more losses. I think they go 26-4. I think they'll lose 1 at Arkansas. I think they'll lose 1 at Oklahoma. There's a chance they could lose more than 1. I mean, they could drop 2 at either of those places. They'll sweep Florida. Even though Florida's playing better, they'll sweep Florida. And, I will say I say they get 2 or more losses down the stretch.
Okay, yeah, it's the rivalry game on the road is always kind of tough. Although we say that, they just hosted Texas A&M in a rivalry game and trounced them. But that's a little bit of different energy.
Yeah, they also lost their Friday starter for the rest of the season. Like they lost Spencer for the rest of the year. So does that bite them at any point as they start to look toward conference tournament, regionals, and beyond? Do they look past something?
Yeah, true. Okay, back to Auburn real quick. I just wanted to kind of chat about that. Somebody on this show mentioned Chris Rembert as their pick to be the MVP of the weekend. Who was that?
I don't know. The guy had a good take.
I think it's a man in the middle.
Man knows ball. Yeah, Chris Rembert, 9 of 18, 2 home runs, leads the team in homers for the weekend. 1 double, 3 runs, 5 RBI, 16 total bases. Not only is Auburn's MVP for the weekend, is the first freshman to be named SEC Player of the Week this year. I don't really know what all he was doing differently this year. It feels like with every freshman, you get to that point in the season where all of a sudden that power starts to kick in, right? I remember Ike Irish was spraying doubles his freshman year, and then there was that weekend late in the year, I think he popped 2 or 3 homers. It's just, I don't know if that is he moved up in the lineup, obviously, but I don't know what changed for Chris Rembert, but that was a massive weekend at the absolute best time. I'm looking at the whole week. I just realized I looked at the whole week is where I got 9 of 18, not just the weekend series. I'm looking at the whole week, but big weekend for Chris Rembert. Sonny, what did you see from Chris? Anything different, or just he's comfortable in the SEC now?
I think him going to the leadoff spot, that just changed, because that hitting in the different spots in the order changes your attitude and changes what you're trying to do. And so maybe him hitting up there, I don't know his thought process. I don't know if in high school that's where he hit. I don't know, but he just looked really comfortable in the leadoff.
Yeah, I don't know either what was different. I know he was impressive. We interviewed him after the game Friday, and he just said that the pitcher's slider wasn't very good, so he took it out. He took it out and focused on the fastball. And I thought that showed a maturity and an intelligence that's really high IQ. Now, could the guy have thrown sliders against him and had to? Yeah. But if Chris recognized the first time through and watching from the dugout and paying attention to the game that his slider's not that great, he's just not going to throw it for a strike. It's out. He made it sound easier than it is.
Yeah, seriously.
But I was impressed with that approach and the fact that he let us know that.
Yeah. That kind of awareness. And I will point out, I feel like the freshmen are still at that point where you get those really kind of actionable, good nuggets from them. I'm thinking about when Chase Fralick came on the show here and was telling me and, was talking to us about trying to take Ohio State signs while they were in Texas. Like that's something that I feel like a lot of the upperclassmen try to maybe keep to themselves and be a little more diplomatic with their answers. Not that Chris did anything wrong. I just like that level of transparency into the process and the thinking, right? Sonny, have you faced a guy where you just said, hey, this kid he can't do this or this. I can sit one pitch and I'm going to be plenty successful. Like, is there a good example of when you've been able to this guy telegraphed the at-bat and you crushed something?
Yeah. I mean, we do that a lot now too, but it's like kind of the opposite because you got pitchers who are just disgusting, but they're throwing one pitch for a strike and they throw 5 pitches, but their other pitches are really good. And so you're just like, well, if he beats me with those pitches, then it's over and whatever. But I can't miss the one pitch that he's leaving over the middle. And so that's kind of how we look at it now.
It's like this guy's fastball slider is filthy, but like if he throws me a changeup, he's gonna hang it and I'm gonna bang it. Like that kind of approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask another question, Sonny? What are examples of tells that you've been able to pick up on from? I mean, we don't have to name names or games or anything, but specific things that pitchers will do or catchers or anything else to tip what they're doing, and how much is that a fact? Like, what percentage of the time is that a factor? Are we talking 50% or 10%? How much does that come into play?
For some guys, that's like their everyday thing. They try to look for that. I've never really looked at that because I don't want to be thinking too much. But just from other like experiences and good guys think, every day somebody's trying to pick up something that either the catcher's doing, the pitcher's doing. Because a lot of teams will have the same like how do you say, like the same concept of what they're trying to do as a pitcher. All their guys are like, okay, we're gonna go off speed early, fastball late, early in the game, and then switch it. Stuff like that. I've never focused on it, but I mean that's how some guys game plan, and that's how some guys are successful.
Okay,
that makes sense.
I ask that because I think there was some of that was at play this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Gabe is pretty on top of all that stuff. He's always got somebody in that dugout. Like I'm sure, what's a couple of like Addison Klepsch, he might be in the dugout doing something, trying to pick something up. I know Steele, Lucas Steele is pretty good at that early on in the year. Yeah, and so it's just stuff like that.
I think too it was flipped. I think Frelick had to change some of the stuff that he was doing, signaling pitches in, because there was a thought that State might have picked up something from Auburn, and
are they not using the thing anymore?
Yes, and I might wait until we're off the air to discuss exactly what was happening. But no, they are, but they had to change some of the ways that they did it because they thought they picked up on something.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah,
like it's the game within the game within the game, right?
Seriously.
Well, and to Sonny's point, like I've wondered how much, like, man, is that 70% of what you're trying to do? Or is it just occasionally, if it's obvious or if it's there, then you're going to, I mean, if you walk on a $5 bill on the ground, you're going to pick it up. So,
yeah. I mean, if it's something so like out there, like I know if I'll pay attention to a pitcher, if he's doing something with his glove and like it's 100%, it's happening. Like say his glove goes to his chest on a fastball or his glove goes to his belt on a curveball when he's coming through his windup, stuff like that.
That was going to be my next question is fans always see that kind of stuff. They're like, hey, his hands are like lower on his breaking ball than his fastball. Like, is that the kind of thing that you're picking up at the plate? Or when you're in the box, are you thinking about other stuff? Like if somebody pointed that out to you before you walked up there, would you notice that in an at bat? Or is that something you need somebody in the dugout to see that so that you can then turn around and use it?
It's something that, since, there's so much video now, there's literally every angle of everything. It's something that Gabe does try to pick up on and try to let us know before the series. And, I mean, I remember one distinctly, I was playing against Florida when I was at Sanford, and Jack Leftwich was doing something, and I can't remember what he was doing. He was doing something on his fastball and something on his curveball or slider.
I think I remember this. He like fanned the fingers on one, but not the other. So you could see by how wide the glove was.
Yes.
And it's because he fanned the glove to go in and get a different grip. Yes. What it was, I think.
That was 2021. And so I ended up hitting a homer off of him doing it. And, we all came in and I was like, yeah, he's doing it. And then we batted him around, hit him out of the game. And that was, but other than that, I mean, pitchers don't really have those because there is so much video and there's so much awareness. People like coaches will look for that and pick up on it on your own team.
Self-scouting.
So, yeah.
Okay. In just a second, guys, I want to get to the pitching from the weekend and then a look maybe about this week and some strategic how you make this work. We'll do that next right here on the Barn Baseball Show. Welcome back to the Barn Baseball Show. Lindsay Crosby, Vanessa Shara Bradlaw. Okay, so this weekend we saw a continuation of what Auburn's like to do, right? You see Sam Dutton, you see Cade Fisher. Cade only made it an inning, 4 hits, 4 runs. And then you saw the Sunday start go to Cam Tilley. And I think that was something, Sonny, you and I talked about that early last week. I thought, hey, let's give it a shot. I think your suggestion was he's comfortable in the role he's in. Let's maybe leave him there. Does it feel like we're in that situation still? We're just going to have to mix and match that third starting spot? Or like, do we have time in the season for somebody to step up and claim that spot? Or is this always going to be an open question based on how the first 2 games went?
Yeah. I mean, I think Tilley did a great job. He gave you 4 innings, 3-run ball. So I think, you're in a good spot. You got 11 SEC wins. So, and you're in a spot where if you just win 4 out of your last 9, you're hosting without a doubt. Even if you win 3 out of your last 9 with how good the RPI is, you're still hosting. So I think you just let him roll, see how he does. If he ends up doing well, great. He's your game 3 guy. If not, throw him back in the bullpen. He's your stopper, and him and Parker can keep going back to back.
I wonder if there's a chance he becomes your game 2 guy.
Or that too, yeah.
That was my next question was we've the trend for Cade Fisher was going longer and longer on Saturdays. That trend has now since reversed.
Yeah.
And this one was 1 inning, 4 runs, 4 hits, a walk, no strikeouts. And so is it more important to to see if Cam Tilley can handle game 3, or is it more important to make some sort of change for game 2? Because we know that this offense is going to battle, and they're going to even Saturday, Auburn was in that game. But what's more important, finding the game 3 starter or just doing something different for game 2?
I think it definitely, when it comes down to the regional and everything, I think that's when it's become more important. Because if you lose game 1, if somehow somebody hits Dutton around and you lose game 1, I think that's when you got to go with either you give, Fisher one time through the lineup and throw Tilley in there for a long relief, or you just straight up start Tilley. That's the hard thing. But you never know. Somebody could pop up in the last week. We never know what their plan is going to be. So it'll be interesting to see.
The thing that's concerning about Cade, and there's a lot of belief. They've invested a lot of belief and time and patience but the last, and I don't remember if it was against Kentucky or Georgia. I don't remember, but earlier this year, he was touching 90 on a fastball. You don't have to be 96, but his control and 90 on a fastball is what made him, is what you build the potential from.
Yeah.
The last few weeks, it's been 85 consistently. And 85 and elevated, that's just not against SEC hitters. It's just not good enough consistently. And what happens is that happens a few times and guys hit it a mile, and now you can't throw your fastball as much. Yeah, or you can't locate it well or whatever, and now you got to go to the other stuff, and it's just it snowballs there. So, and unless he can show that fastball can get up to 89, 90 consistently, I think you got to do something else in game 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that then leads you to the next question of who, do you have enough starting options to make it through 2 games where you have questions about who your starter is? I say that you got 1 inning out of Cade Fisher on Saturday, so you practically already had to do that. But is Sam Dutton and pray for rain, to borrow an old phrase of the Atlanta Braves, is that a sustainable plan if you're intending to make a deep postseason run? Is that enough? Is it just we're just going to hope somebody steps up, or are the pieces there? We just have to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
What's our comfort level with the staff as a whole?
Yeah, we also got to look too. They can bring Chatterton back into the weekend because he's been doing just fine on those midweeks. And so I think we do. We got Dutton and Chatterton for sure. Those are two guys you can give the ball to and be confident with. And if Tilley ends up making 3 starts these last 3 weeks at SEC, he could be your third guy. But yeah, I'm not so sure what's going on with Fisher's velo there. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I also think Andreas Alvarez is a guy who can give you multiple innings, even in a relief. Well, I mean, you could start to piece together 18 innings among the back 2 games. We didn't see Ryan Hetzler twice. We only saw him once this weekend. You know, if you factor in Hetzler on a Friday, this is plan A. And Coach Thompson likes to talk about how you got to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan. But if plan A is Dutton, if you need anybody else, then Hetzler, and then Ryan's able to come back for a game, then he's a part of those innings for a game 3. Parker Carlson being back and healthy helps.
Yep.
He can give you multiple innings.
It really does.
Can you get multiple innings out of Armstrong? Can you get an inning out of Jackson Sanders? Can you get an inning out of Griffin Graves? You know, I do. I think that, long answer, short question, I think the arms are there to get you those 18 innings. It's just a matter of finding the most efficient way for them to piece together.
Yeah.
And something we've heard from Butch Thompson, opposing coaches and folks like that, is that passing the baton thing from Auburn. That is this season where Auburn's been the most vulnerable, is getting through that pitching plan from one guy to the next to the next. Sonny, on your note of Chatterton, since he moved to midweek, he has pitched 13 innings with 1 earned run and 3 hits allowed.
And that's against South Alabama, right? And Georgia Tech.
That's Georgia Tech, Jacksonville State, Georgia Tech.
Jacksonville State. Okay, I mean that's two top 25 teams, or obviously the same team, but a good Jacksonville State club that's hard to play.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see him against Samford too.
Is he throwing tonight? Okay.
Yeah, he's throwing the night. So that's, if you throw him the night against Samford, you can hold him next weekend and have him ready hold him out of next midweek, or just throw him a single inning and have him ready after that. But
you could also, Lindsay,
much better.
Sorry to jump it. You could also throw him 2, maybe 3 innings tonight.
Yeah.
And bring him back Sunday.
Shorter. Bring him back for an opening role. Like maybe on Sunday, him and Tilly could piggyback.
Yep. Very possible.
There's options here.
Yep.
Yeah. It feels like I kind of agree that I think you have the pieces. You just have to figure out the order and how far you can reasonably push some of the younger pieces. I do think that's the hardest thing to nail down, is, can I get 1 extra inning, or can I get 2 extra batters out of this guy before he gets in trouble?
Yeah. Let me ask you guys, with 2 Thursday, Friday, Saturday series coming up to close the regular season and then the conference tournament, do you go somebody else Thursday, Dutton Friday, and it's like, in other words, do you move Dutton up to Thursday and then treat Friday, Saturday like Saturday, Sunday, or do you treat Thursday like Sunday and then Friday like Friday and Saturday like Saturday?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, definitely going to depend on, what they've done. Like this weekend will tell a lot. Like, if they, depending on how they do, say they come out of here, Tennessee, with 1 or 2 wins, 1 win is going to change everything. They're going to have to scratch against they play South Carolina next after
South
Tennessee.
Carolina at home Thursday through Saturday. Yeah.
And so this weekend will tell a lot. If they come out of here and they're got 13 wins, then it's going to be like, okay, what can we do to win 2? And then, against South Carolina is whatever. So it'll all just be tell. You could even end up giving Dutton a day, like a week off for the SEC tournament. But it just depends if you have the bye week, if you have the bye game or not. So I think they should be really fighting for that bye game, because that helps out a lot too.
To answer the question, Brad, I think you leave Sam Dutton where he is, right? You've made 1 significant change to him all year, and that was moving him from Saturday to Friday.
Yeah.
Right. Opening weekend, he was a Saturday starter. Cade Fisher had the opening day start. I think you leave him where he is. And there is some precedent for this. I remember Joseph Gonzalez was a guy that, if I remember right, he pitched a lot of like game 2s one year.
Sundays.
Sundays. That's right. Sundays. Yeah. And so I think you leave him where he is. If you can piece it together in game 1, great. Now, the downside to that, I do think, is if game 1 doesn't go well on a Thursday, you really need his length. And so there's you have to fight the urge to leave him in if he is struggling or doesn't have it or whatever. You have to you're going to want to just leave him in no matter what, because you need the length, but that's the flip side. So I mean, I think I leave him there, but you probably, there's pros and cons both ways.
Yeah. All right. Just wondering what you guys thought about that. I know this is the time of the year for a lot of how would you approach this scenario type questions.
Yeah. And we did have a listener question about how do you approach the SEC tournament? This is, to Sonny's point, you win just a few more games and you're going to host a regional. And that being said, how hard do you push in the SEC tournament, right? It's something I think we're all kind of in agreement with what Sonny said. Getting the bye would be big. Getting a bye would be a big deal for Auburn. But in the tournament, having to play so many games back to back to back, and maybe late at night, we know how Hoover is in May, where you might play baseball at 1 a.m. or something. But how hard do you push to go deep in the SEC tournament? Or is it just, hey, whatever happens, happens. We just want to be set up for regionals.
I mean, you look at Tennessee the past couple of years, they have gone balls to the wall to get the SEC tournament title. And I think that's when at least, when I was at Auburn, that was big. Like, we wanted to win that thing. It wasn't, I mean, we came in as the 5 seed, so we didn't get the bye. And but getting the bye definitely changes a lot, just mindset wise, because you're like, okay, that's one less game and we can have our guy go and we can get this for sure win. But it's not a double elimination anymore, so it changes a lot.
Yeah, now you're in a double bye situation, and Auburn is not that, like, a double bye is not out of the realm of possibility. Ole Miss is in 5th place. Tennessee is in 4th at 13-8. Auburn's 2 games out of 4th place in the SEC.
And you play the team that is currently in 4th place.
And the 5th place team. Like, you got chances to move up.
I didn't realize it was double buys. So 1 through 4 gets double bye?
1 through 4 gets a double bye to Thursday. It's just like the SEC basketball tournament now.
Okay. Yeah.
You get a double bye. 5 through 9 get a single day bye, or 5 through 8, and then 9 through 16 play on day 1. So, yeah, you're close. I think now, clearly there are different ways to do it, and clearly I've never been an SEC coach or a coach at any top level of anything. But I think if you play a game, you try to win the game. If there's a championship that they're giving out, you try to win it. And, South Carolina won back-to-back national championships, and they won 0 SEC tournament games en route to those back-to-back national titles 15 years ago. Tennessee won a national title, and they won the SEC tournament. So there's different ways to do it. I just think if they're playing a game, I want to try to win it. And if they're giving away a championship, I want to try to win it.
On that note, Sonny. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's kind of crazy that the 1 through 4 is already in the Elite 8 for the tournament. Or the round of 8, is that right?
Yeah.
For the double bye?
That's it. Quarterfinals, yeah.
Gosh.
So you got 3. It's a normal
it's a normal weekend. Yeah.
It's a normal weekend if you get a double bye.
Yeah.
To that point, Sonny, of pushing for the championship versus whatever happens. If let's say Auburn has just a single bye, you play on Wednesday, right? If you lose on Wednesday and you're done and you're out of the tournament, you don't play a game for a week and a half. Yes, you're going to do probably squad games and all that stuff, but how much does a layoff that long, that late in the season mess with your hitters before regionals?
I mean, it definitely didn't mess with us when we lost to Kentucky. Because the bats weren't hot for like 4 straight games, so we came home and we just beat up on our pitchers. But it can go 1 of 2 ways. For us and how Auburn handles things, it'll be good work. If that ends up happening, they'll go home. I think we ended up having a couple of days off too, it mixed in there. So school's out as well. So it's honestly just a good time to just regenerate and get it back going. And I don't know, it's just a different time period.
By the way, not only is the tournament, now that it's no longer double elimination, not only are you straight into the quarterfinals, you don't play Friday. You play Thursday. There are no Friday games.
There's 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday.
Are there 2 Thursday, 2 Friday?
Yeah,
okay.
it's.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
It's 3 and 6 p.m. both days. Yeah.
So one will
Okay.
play on Thursday and then one will play Friday.
So
Yes.
you might
Sorry.
not play your first game until Friday if you
Wow.
have. It's the 2 and 3 seeds play on Friday. 1 and 4 play on
Oh
Thursday.
my gosh.
My fault. So if you're the one of the
No.
4, you play Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're the 2 or 3, you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And if you're the 11, you play every single day. Except
And
maybe
not only you play
Thursday,
every
Friday.
single day, you're playing the last game of the day too.
Oh,
14 versus
gosh.
11 is 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and it's Hoover in
8
May.
o'clock?
So it's not going to start at 8 o'clock. It never does.
Oh my gosh.
Technically it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
Okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays. So you do get a day off. There is a
Yeah.
day.
How often do you actually get all 4 games in on the first day?
Never.
Well, or if you do, that last one ends at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next one
Look,
starts at 7 a.m.
I used to work for the SEC radio network, and one year we did every single game of the tournament.
Oh my
Those
gosh.
first 3 days, we had 4 games a day with just no break. It's brutal.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Very brutal.
And what you want, and one of those years, I think Vandy and Mississippi State played 18 innings. So we really had 5 games.
Oh my
Gross.
gosh.
Can you imagine being the late game on Tuesday? There's delays. It starts at like 11 p.m. and you go 18 innings.
Yeah.
Or could you
Yeah.
imagine being the first game and you go 18 innings and everybody else is just
It messes everybody else up.
And everybody knows.
At least you're done though.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
I think the next day, the first game went to 10 innings. And everybody, as soon
Oh.
as they finish 9 and it's tied, you're just like, oh no, here we go again. No.
We always love free baseball, except for this
Yeah.
time. We don't love
Yeah.
free
Yeah,
baseball
seriously.
right now.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Final thoughts here on how tonight goes. Is this where you really start seeing Auburn go with pitchers for an inning or 2 innings in a midweek versus having a traditional starter and then from there throwing your bullpen? Is this kind of just a Johnny Holstaff kind of bullpen game? You have a starter, but after that, or is it because you want to keep Chatterton kind of on schedule and stretched out? This is still a normal start for him.
I think they still just let Chatterton go and let him free because honestly he's still in a good spot, right? And so if he ends up having a tough outing, maybe only goes 2 or 3, then we can bring it back on Sunday. But I think just let him roll.
Yeah, I'm in between. I think there's a real good chance you see Chatterton again this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think even if he's pitching great, he's 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah.
I also think this staff believes they need to keep winning games because they're not just looking at a regional host; they're looking at a national seed. It's out there. It's with their RPI and the remaining schedule. It's 100% out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you can't lose midweek games. You can't lose too many midweek games, and you can't let this one slip by. So, I think they'll do what they need to do to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that, like including, Chatterton 2 or 3 innings.
As of time of recording, Auburn's RPI, they're 4th in RPI, number 1 in strength of schedule.
Yep.
There you go. I mean,
and a weekend at Tennessee isn't going to do anything to drop that.
Nope.
So.
It's not gonna make that worse or anything. All right, this has been the Barn Baseball Show for Tuesday, April 29th. Do us a favor. Go to thebarnauburn.com, sign up for an annual subscription. You get discussion threads from me, nuggets from Sonny, from Brad, everybody else involved on the Barn Baseball Podcast Network. Until next time, this has been the Barn Baseball Show.